Audible is audio entertainment that entertains, educates, and inspires. For you, listeners of CreepGeeks Podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/cheapgeek. Again, that's audibletrial.com/cheapgeek for your free audiobook.
So it begins again. Welcome to the CreepGeeks Podcast. This is episode number 207.
Potato Mystery, Dyatlov Pass, Omi's Bad Luck Birthday, and Canada's Alien Types.
Yeah. So here we are again. Welcome back to the podcast. If it's your very first time listening to the podcast, we'd just like to say hello. How are you and how you doing?
Hi.
Yes. I'm Greg.
I'm Omi.
And this is the CreepGeeks Podcast. We've done 207 episodes. So.
Ish.
Get ready. Anyway, we are a paranormal weird news podcast, along with some other things that we'd like to talk about. We talk about all sorts of stuff. We like weird news. We like ghosts and Bigfoot and Sasquatch and cryptids and all sorts of phantasmagorical. Is that, how do you say that word? Fantastic oracle?
No.
What is it?
Fantastical.
Fantastical. It's pretty close to...
Which is not even a real word either.
Could be.
Okay.
Could be. So anyway, we do like to talk about a bunch of different things, and we're pretty much an offbeat news podcast. Take a lighthearted approach to the paranormal, cryptid, supernatural, strange, silly, and trending tech topics circulating the web. And where do we broadcast from?
We broadcast paranormal news and fun stories from our underground bunker in the mountains of western North Carolina.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Secretive.
And you can actually call the show and leave a message, talk about something we've talked about on the show, or share your story with us. That phone number is going to be 575-208-4025. And if you're interested, that's a Roswell area code. Leave a message. Don't just say, hey, call me back.
Yeah, because, we're not going to call you back. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's 2021, man. Text or email or something like that works, but, hey.
Yeah, and if you do want to email us, that's going to be contact@creepgeeks.com, or you can go to creepgeeks.com and click the Contact Us form.
Yeah. Okay, so here we are again, talking about stuff that we think to be interesting on the internets, and I came across a little bit of a mystery.
Yeah.
That I thought was fun. So we're going to talk about it a little bit, and that sort of led to something else that I thought was fun, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. And then I found some stupid stuff that I thought was fun, and we'll talk about that stuff too. And then it sort of all led around to your birthday.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're going to make all this relate in a way that you don't understand.
I don't understand.
I know. So anyway.
Great.
Yeah. So let's do this. Let's talk about the podcast new contribution that we decided to add, because we're always adding things to the podcast to make it just a little bit better.
Yeah.
In our last podcast episode, we said that we were going to do the Fortean or Fortean, that's how you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Right? Term of the day.
Yes.
And so, go ahead.
Well, we realized during that episode, we really should have gone over the term Fortean.
Yeah.
So we kind of did some housekeeping during that episode to actually explain that. This episode, we do want to attribute where the word Fortean or Fortean, I don't know how to say it, because everybody says it differently. But it's been attributed to a person, and that is Charles Fort. He was an American writer and researcher who specialized in anomalous phenomena. So...
anomalous.
The terms Fortean and Forteana are sometimes used to characterize various phenomena that are basically unexplained and strange and unusual.
Yes.
Charles Fort's books sold well and are still in print. Back then, they were like the equivalent of like dime store sci-fi novels. everybody bottom up. So that's what?
Old school, like trashy tabloid / wacky tabloid stuff like, I don't want to call any names out. They might be listening.
No, don't. I mean,
like Bat Boy Lives. Everybody's seen those.
Yeah.
Right?
And see, that's the funny thing, because Charles Fort's writing style as a writer of like these novels was sometimes described as things as like no attempt to present a coherent argument towards the plot, a patron saint of cranks.
Nice.
Oh man, there's Wilson, who I guess was Colin Wilson. He's another writer. Described Fort's writing style as atrocious and almost unreadable. Yet, despite these objections by other critics, Fort's novels sold very well.
Sweet. It's like in your face.
And his books included many occurrences of things in a occult, supernatural, and paranormal, phenomena realm. So that's, I guess, where they coined Fortiana.
Well, very nice.
Yeah. And if you guys want to read more than our butchered, 30-second explanation, we have links in the show notes to this podcast.
Yeah, so if you go to CreepGeeks.com, you'll find every time that we have a podcast episode that we do put the notes there, and you can click on those links and explore the information we talk about at your leisure.
Yeah.
Yes. So speaking of leisure, I came across this thing, and I thought it was fun. This little post here, this little article. And then it sort of led to something else because I thought the whole idea was kind of dumb. All right, so if you like this kind of thing when it comes to paranormal, weird stuff, chances are you like horror, sci-fi, all that kind of junk, right? Sort of all can kind of go together, Yeah. Is it a strange noise? Did you hear a strange noise?
Yeah, I did. So.
It's okay. Keep an eye out for it. So anyway, and, every so often when you go and you kind of have that sort of mindset, like if you like horror movies, monster movies, all that kind of thing, and you see things that are weird, your mind doesn't go to a normal place. Yeah. And I don't mean normal in any other way than if you see something strange, you might attribute it to be, well, that looks like a human skull. You know what I mean? Or something like that when it's really not.
Like pareidoia almost?
No, it's just that you're just kind of wired to look for things that maybe people wouldn't look for.
Okay.
Like, go down the road, if you see like all right, let me give you an example. Those little mushroom balls that you see that are white, they grow in the field, they look like golf balls?
Puff balls, yeah.
Yeah. Well, when some people see those, they might see those as being golf balls. But if you're into like mushrooms and mycelium and all this other crazy stuff, you'd like, oh, that's a puff ball. But if you kind of have like maybe a little bit Appalachian, lore, you might be like, that's devil's snuff.
Oh, okay.
Because this is kind of how you're geared to look at things, right? Mm-hmm. So when I seen this article, I had to click on it, and I figured we'd go ahead and add it because it is kind of funny, and it sort of led to some other things too. And I'm just like, how does this happen? So there's a library who is puzzled by a baked potato mystery.
Okay.
And this is what sort of wetted my whistle for this whole thing, because you kind of had me at baked potato, because I like potatoes, right? I'm like, no, I like baked potato and mystery. Right, so I'm in.
Your two favorite things.
Yeah, or two of my. I mean, I'm a well traveled, cultured individual, and I do like many things. And baked potatoes, I do like, and mysteries, I like. You know what I mean? It's better than a sharp poke in the face, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I had to click, and it's like library puzzled by baked potato mystery, and I'm like, okay, let's see what this is. So the staff at this library in Massachusetts are asking the public for help in solving a strange mystery centered around, of all things, baked potatoes. And I got this article off Coast to Coast, because this just happened to be the first one I clicked on. But it says, according to a local media report, a curious case came to light last week when the Wayland Free Public Library took to Facebook with a rather odd tale. The front lawn of the library has been accumulating what appears to be perfectly lovingly baked russets.
This week.
Yeah. So they found a pair of potatoes that had been inexplicably found on the basically outside of the building, seemingly left there over the course of a few days. And I will admit that's kind of weird. If you're out there doing your thing and you come across just a random baked potato laying around. I mean, it's not like you're like in a Wendy's parking lot, If you seen one in a Wendy's parking lot, you'd be like, oh, that's a baked potato. Maybe that person did not want that potato, right?
Or they dropped it, which is sad.
Yeah. Or, whatever. Maybe, yeah. So I'm like, but to see it at a library, outside the library is kind of strange. And then you start thinking, or at least I did, was this somebody's lunch?
Oh, yeah.
Were they maybe the library worker or staff member or somebody like it's like bringing in their baked potato, and they lost it because it fell out of the bag or whatever because they didn't properly pack the potato. And they sit down, going, I'm going to eat this baked potato. And it's not there. See, now we're looking at two mysteries. There's the possibility that the baked potato came from a staff worker and they just lost it, at which point they would have a mystery. Where's my baked potato, right?
Yeah.
Evidently, I don't think that's the case. So, the library director, which is Sandy Raymond, she noticed the original spud and was left scratching her head when a second potato appeared later in that week. So my thought was maybe this person lost the one potato and figured they would do it again. And bring another potato to lunch.
Bring it a friend.
Yeah. It's like, But what happened is that initially thinking that perhaps someone had simply moved the first potato, she quickly realized that, in fact, there was another potato mystery brewing at the building. None of us can imagine how they got there. Mm-hmm. And so the library, they wrote this and they wondered if the spuds were part of a rare potato migration. And I see their attempt to be funny.
Yeah.
Because my first thought was, and they're going, I don't know how the potato got there. Somebody obviously brought the potato there.
Yeah.
Because it was lovingly cooked. But that's another mystery, too. How do you know if your potato is lovingly cooked?
Well, if you just throw a raw potato in a field, it doesn't just get all mushy. So it had
Well, how did it,
she poked it with a stick.
They could have cooked it with hate. Oh. You don't know. You don't have to, but so I'm like, okay. So now they're up to like 2 potatoes, and I'm like, well, that's kind of strange. Somebody's just leaving potatoes, and it could just be that somebody, maybe they have a kid or something like that who goes to the library for whatever, and their parent says, here's your lunch. Here's a healthy baked potato, and kid's like, I don't want it, and just throws it.
Oh.
Yeah. Because I had questions. I want to know, like, is there any kind of visible evidence on a potato that maybe it was carried by a bird and dropped from a height thinking it was like a weird dinosaur egg that need to be cracked on it? I mean, where's this thing coming from?
Perhaps an African swallow if you're like Monty Python fan.
So I'm like, well, that's kind of strange. So if somehow or another between here and there, I wound up going back into the whole mystery of the potatoes again, and I came across something that I had actually shared on our CreepGeeks Facebook page.
Yeah.
Or group, whichever one it is, on Facebook, which you can find it by looking for CreepGeeks, right?
Yeah.
The human foot. The human foot in Gateshead Field turns out to be a potato. So, whoever this person is, right?
Yeah.
Was cruising across a field in a place called Gateshead, which is obviously somewhere in England or something like that.
Yeah.
Somewhere in Europe. I think it's Northumbria. I don't know. So it's in England.
Win Latin.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not too familiar with small little towns or whatever, but so this person's a dog walker. I said a dog walker in Gateshead sent officers a photograph of what appeared to be a toe poking out of the soil. Right?
Yeah.
Now, remember before when I was talking about, how you go out and you see stuff and you see it one way and maybe somebody else will see it another way, like a normal person would not see a toe sticking out?
Oh, but I'm looking at the photo.
And to me, it looks like a potato, probably because the headline may have given it away, but at first glance, my immediate thought would not be there's a toe sticking out of the ground.
Actually, I do kind of see it.
Because you're kind of wired that way. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Okay.
If you're just out there walking around, why would you immediately go to a toe? Because you're weird. That's why. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm like, And, like, oh, that could be a skull. Or like if you see a bunch of birds circling around, you're like, oh, there's a dead body over there. I just know it, right?
Yeah.
And there's not. That's the whole thing. It's probably like a piece of chicken or something laying around. You never know. So, the dog walker sends police a picture of a human toe. He's sticking out of the soil, right? But after carrying out the search in the dark with specialist dogs, I like how the English have things going on, right?
Yeah.
It's like our dog is obviously not a specialist.
No, she's not.
Oh, hey, you have a dog? Yeah. What kind is it? Oh, well, Pepper is a paranormal investigating pupper. Oh, so she's a paranormal specialist dog. Sure. Just like, oh, my dog's a snack specialist. I have a bulldog, or I have a dog that's a mix between a bulldog and a Shih Tzu. It's specialist dog.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so bullshits, right? Okay. So they call, right? And they say, or they send a picture to the police, and after they take the specialist dogs out, officers discovered that it was a potato with a mushroom growing next to it.
Oh.
Yeah. But police, and see, here, this is funny. Police praised the woman for her vigilance and said the call had been made in good faith.
Oh.
Why did they have to say it was a woman?
What do you mean?
It's kind of sexist.
No.
Or like, oh, a stupid woman called in about seeing a toe sticking out of the field.
I don't think that. I think they were just identifying. I don't think it
What's
was
the point of identifying? They already identified that person as a dog walker.
But so depending on the articles, it says woman called or dog walker. So it doesn't, I don't think that's targeted there.
It could be.
Okay.
But maybe they said that way so that everybody in the neighborhood would know who it is.
The dog walker.
Yeah.
Okay, that's messed up.
But it could be. So anyway, Northumbria police said that the photograph sent on Tuesday when the woman had returned home from her walk in the Windlatten area did show what appeared to be a human foot. And so when I look back at the picture, it doesn't look like a human foot to me. It actually kind of looks like a potato.
I don't see.
If you're that close to take a picture, you should be that close to be able to identify a freaking potato. Potatoes all kind of look the same.
But see, when they say mushroom, it was actually a mushroom and a potato, close together. I can kind of see the mushroom. I would have thought that first, but it does kind of look like a toe.
I think that, part of your due diligence.
Yeah, I would have poked it with a stick.
Yeah.
So
there you go. See, you poke it and you go, oh, it's potato. Right. And then they just keep saying the field. What if it's like a field that actually grows potatoes?
It's supposed to be a park. So
people grow stuff in parks. Maybe it's a community garden area, something like that. Maybe a community farm area. They get like allowances or like what they call
allotments.
Yeah, where they have like a little chunk of land they can grow their victory garden stuff in.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, Inspector Phil Hamlani, we're not good with names. The person who called this in was very concerned in the picture she sent, and the object did look like it could be human remains. It was already dark by the time we got there, so we had to deploy the search teams to track down the scene to rule out any foul play.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So they did a full-on investigation.
Well, they kind of have to. This lady's like, there's a human foot in the field. Yeah, I think you need to bring the specialist dogs.
Don't think that.
The search team did have a chuckle when they realized it was a potato, but the call was made in good faith, and we can only praise the vigilance of the woman who made the call. And he urged anyone who finds themselves in a similar situation to call the police, adding, if it does only turn out to be a vegetable, our police dogs will thank you for the treat.
Oh.
What? You're a dog. Why do you want to eat a vegetable? Give him a little snack, a little meat snack. Give him a dead toe. I think it just sets a weird example for the dog. Because what if the dog says, oh, this looks like a toe, and you feed it to him, right? What's going to happen the next time he sees her toe?
So there's a little update about the Wayland Library potatoes. Since the potatoes that showed up in the front yard, they've now received like 3 or 4 Mr. Potato Heads.
Say,
they've been on the Stephen Colbert show, or they got a mention on there, and somebody used that website that I know about, which is sendapotato.com.
Yeah.
And people keep sending them potatoes. If you go to their Facebook page, they've actually changed their Facebook cover to Mr. Potato Heads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Embrace it now. It's going to keep getting worse. But, at least they can donate them.
Yeah.
You know what's happening, though? They're taking those baked potatoes that they're finding and just throwing them out in the field where they could be found.
They have pictures.
And misidentified as a zombie toe. See, it should have said zombie toe in Gatesfield turns out to be potato. That would have been great.
Oh, gosh.
Zombie.
And it's funny because I could have sworn I read a similar headline, but I couldn't find it. Because I was like, wait a second.
Well, the other headline in a different article is woman calls cops after spotting human toe. It's a potato.
Yeah.
So that's pretty funny. And then you found some more potato mystery type stuff.
Yeah. That's
this
actually
is the
from
mashed potato mystery.
Yeah, that's actually from 2019. But I guess, okay, so there's...
Way back in 2019.
I know, right?
The good old days.
Like 5 years ago, meaning less than, or a little over a year. So this was supposed to be a neighborhood in Jackson, Mississippi. Basically, this woman woke up and in the Bellhaven neighborhood, and I guess she was going to go to her car, get ready, and go to work. And she saw a glue-colored mush in a bowl on top of her windshield. And she's like, ew, because it looks like it had been out all night, right? So she grabbed it, walked around the house, and threw it away. I was grossed out by it. So then later on that morning, she posted about the weird discovery on her Facebook. Within a matter of hours, 4 people had responded to her with exclamation mark laden messages telling her that they had woken up to find that someone had inexplicably left bowls of lumpy beige mashed potatoes in their front yards.
Yeah.
So at least within a few hours, at least 4 other people said, yeah, we got bowls of mashed potatoes too. One person had it precariously balanced on their mailbox. Yeah. So a neighbor across the street said that she wasn't alone. Other people in this neighborhood basically had mashed potatoes in bowls.
I like how they say Mississippi's most creative individuals have found their way to Greater Bellhaven. Among the residents are celebrated writers, artists, and musicians.
Yeah.
So they're trying to like play us off some kind of art thing.
Which is funny because I don't think this is very artistic.
Who are you to determine what art is?
Okay.
How dare you?
Sure.
But yeah, this guy, Sebastian, almost stepped in a bowl of mashed potatoes, been placed on his doorstep when he left at 7 a.m. to go to work. It was like some people were thinking maybe the mashed potatoes were poisoned to kill animals.
Oh, no.
I didn't taste it. I have a 3-second rule. So I didn't touch it. But some people were worried. See, you see a toe sticking out of a field. Oh, look at that human toe. It's really just a potato.
Yeah.
You know, this guy immediately thinks the poisoned potatoes. So what's he's all listening like probably better podcasts than us, like true crime podcasts and stuff.
But see, okay, so.
Well, I mean, because there is a Wikipedia entry that basically talks about Bellhaven having a number of outdoor cats in the neighborhood. Most of are friendly, but you know.
Yeah. It also notes a citation is needed for that claim of friendliness.
Yeah, we don't know if the cats are actually friendly.
But for me, I don't think, when I think Mississippi, I don't think mashed potatoes. So I don't necessarily think like art or something like that.
What?
Like, yeah, that's not something.
Okay, well, think about it. A potato makes potato salad.
Okay. Is that something popular in Mississippi?
It's popular in the South.
Okay, so when I used to work in downtown Albuquerque, we would see this sometimes outside my workplace. There was this little alcove where people who smoked would go smoke their cigarettes on their breaks. And there's this little spot where people would set like their half-smoked cigarette or stash one before break or whatever. Well, after a while, people would leave half-eaten burritos.
Well, I mean, okay, so you're saying that since New Mexico has delicious New Mexican cuisine, that a burrito is more indicative of the area in which the item was found?
Yes.
More representative, I should say, of the area. So, I don't know. I think that borders on inappropriate somehow.
I know, but like it would happen. It only happened.
That is kind of funny, though. Yeah. Like, I mean, if you just seen a random burrito hanging out, you wouldn't think it was out of place.
It only happened like twice where I worked, but then one of my coworkers was like, yeah, no, we actually know a guy who does this in our neighborhood.
He just eats like half a burrito and leaves it. Yeah. It's like, oh, I've had enough. I'll leave this for the animals.
He would leave them on his porch, Or
just in case somebody needs half a burrito. Hungry? A little mashed potatoes. Here's a little burrito. We got plenty of, human toes in the yard over there.
Yeah, but I mean, the potatoes, it's like, I guess potatoes are more, I don't know, universally accepted.
Yeah. You know who's universally accepting?
What?
Canada.
Oh, okay.
Because they have different types of aliens. They have classified them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
According to Vice.com, which is a bastion of truth, right? They say that Canada's former defense minister claims that aliens are real. That's a pretty popular claim these days, and this was probably done a little bit a while ago. It says, apparently there's a humanoid-esque race of aliens called the Tall Whites. Now, I almost clicked away from this because I'm like, this is probably going to get racist.
Yeah.
But it kind of is racist because they're talking about races.
Yeah.
You know? And it basically says that the former defense minister, Paul Hellyer, was chatting freely about how aliens are real in the presence of 6 American congressmen in Washington.
Oh,
and it says, as someone who spent all winter stuck to my couch watching X-Files and fantasizing about Mulder taking me away to a far-off alien planet, which is, I'm thinking, too much information, but it is Vice, right?
Yeah.
But pretty much kind of breaks it down with, the Canadian, it basically has 4 different types of alien species that have been visiting Earth for what they claim to be thousands of years.
Yeah.
So these are the claims, right? So the different species probably have different agendas and should not be considered as one entity.
Okay.
One of the species is called the Tall Whites, and it says that that 2 of them are actually working in the United States.
Yeah.
Right? And, there are live ETs on Earth at this present time. And I don't think he means ETs as in, like, they look like ET.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it says a cabal formed by the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderbergers, and the Trilateral Commission, the International Banking Cartel, the Oil Cartel, and select members of the military are planning to create a one-world government, and they are the ones suppressing the information about the aliens to the public.
This sounds like it comes straight out of X-Files Lone Gunman.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah.
But of course, this most recent extraterrestrial testimony isn't Paul's first involvement with the alien awareness movement. So, this guy in 2005, as part of his, 40-year crusade to let the world know about aliens, he basically confessed to a Toronto audience, right, that he'd once seen a UFO with his wife and friends.
Yeah.
And then 2 years later, Paul asked for the public disclosure from world governments on alien technology that could potentially save us. So, I don't know. So anyway, he talks about the Tall Whites as being, part of the races, right? But,
yeah.
But the writer is like, now I'm now obsessed with Tall Whites. I personally can't wait to touch their soft skin. I'm like, the whole thing is getting kind of...
Yeah.
Right. But anyway, the guy claims that they're skinny, they're pale-looking humanoids made of flesh and blood like the rest of us, and apparently they look Scandinavian. And their eyes are blue and twice the size of human eyes with transparent blonde hair. Now, we've heard about the Nordics. The Nordics is a race. And that's kind of where I thought this was going. You have like the Nordics and the reptilians and...
Which Wikipedia has groupings of these extraterrestrial beings, and Nordics and Tall Whites are in the same category with Pleiadians and Venusians, which is a much older term that you find in like the really old sci-fi.
Yeah.
But that's just it's when they say stuff like that, it makes me, I don't know, uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's okay. I don't know. Because
he claims that they're real, and he's talking about the Pleiadians, or I'm sorry, he calls them the Tall Whites, but basically, it's just kind of strange to see that. But what I really thought was weird about that was the article.
Yeah.
Which is, kind of inappropriate, but it is from Vice. But they don't really break down the rest of them, because it says that there are at least 4 types of alien species, and they've been visiting Earth for thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
They only talk about 1.
I know.
So I'm trying to guess the rest of them, like Pleiadians, Venusians, reptilians. There's the avian type that fly or can fly. I don't know what they're called. Probably avians. So what's the other type? The grays, are they here too? I mean, what's going on?
Oh, okay. So if we go with that Wikipedia article that I
might
found,
as well, let's go with Wikipedia, because there's varying degrees.
I know, right? So they have cryptozoological or cryptobotanical creatures.
So we're talking about like live plants.
Mothman, the Japanese yokai, Quinmensine, the Rayfate, Jersey Devil. Then you have grays. And then grays, there's like this little other thing where they're separating Hopkinsville goblin or little green men, reptilians and reptilioids, rods or skyfish, and then secret results of genetic engineering.
Okay.
Yeah, and that includes like the dolphin super soldier from a couple years ago.
See, and already that's different than what I heard growing up.
Yeah.
And it was like, the Nordics, the ones that fly, that are human-like that fly, reptilian, and the grays, ostensibly. And there was, offshoots of another one, too. And I think somewhere along the lines that cryptozoological animals have been included in alien races, right? Which is kind of strange because they weren't really counted in there. So it's like, it just seems that over time things have kind of merged a little bit to become the sort of pop culture blending of all this stuff.
And that's the thing, like this list on Wikipedia needs like citations cited and all this other stuff.
It's probably just one person just kind of rolling out, making it up.
Yeah, it's got 9 categories, not, 4 or 6, because depending on the article, you hear them talk about 6 types versus 4 types.
If we're talking aliens, I wouldn't include Mothman as being an alien, and I wouldn't include, just like I wouldn't necessarily include the Flatwoods Monster as being a cryptid.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the line's being blurred here because to me, Bigfoot is probably not an alien. It'd be more of a naturalistic monster. Or cryptid, like the Loch Ness Monster.
Yeah. But the thing that bothers me about this article, like you pointed out, they only talk about one type of alien.
Yeah.
So is this some sort of keyword trigger to put certain keywords out there that might be, I don't know, not good?
Well, you can follow this person on Twitter, and they have more about aliens listed as like article links underneath. Canadian UFO sightings have doubled.
Yeah.
RCAT's spies sent by aliens, and I've got an alien in my head.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know, but I wanted more out of that article. Didn't necessarily get it, but I did think it was kind of weird to bring up, the Nordics and nobody else. So kind of lame, but anyway. But. The defense minister claims that aliens are real. He's claimed it for a long time. You had the Israeli guy who claimed, I can't remember, was he a defense minister? I can't remember, secretary. He claims that aliens are real and that there's the Galactic Federation. So it just makes you wonder, if you have high-level officials who usually will make these statements when they're not in position anymore, making this claim, I wonder how many people are out there that are really sort of like, hey, this is the deal. We got aliens here. So, I don't know. So I thought that was kind of strange. And you know what else is strange?
What?
Okay, so with Dyatlov Pass and the stuff that we've been watching, if you don't know, there was a group of hikers. These were college kids or university students that basically went to go on vacation in Russia. This was in the 60s, right? I'm really going to do a real sort of high-level overview because this thing goes pretty deep.
1959.
Yeah, 59. Well, close enough because they started. Anyway, they go off and they're going to hike to this place, Dyatlov Pass, which was named after. So whatever it was called before, I don't know. And we're talking about like Siberian type stuff where the snow and it's treacherous and it's like every bit of what you think, the Russian tundra would be. Mm-hmm. They go out to go hiking and they wind up just mysteriously dead.
Yeah.
Their camp's destroyed. They died in some ways. In some of the pictures, a horrific death. And there's been some real mystery behind what actually happened to them.
Yeah.
Everything from the possibility of they seen maybe some secret Soviet missile tests. Because this is back before really the whole Cold War started to kind of begin being more of a serious thing. They're testing like missiles and radiation and all this crazy stuff to
like Cold War stuff.
To the possibility of getting exposed to some kind of nerve agent where they may have killed themselves
or each other
or gone crazy, because they're in a place where if you're exposed to the elements with no protective gear like coats and clothes and shoes and stuff like that, you die real quick.
Yeah. In fact, you were talking about what it was originally called. I mean, it was technically the snowy slopes of Kholat Syakhl, which can be interpreted into Dead Mountain.
Yeah. And so they were going to go out there, and there's even, there was even the idea that maybe some, they passed a gulag that's in the area, and a gulag is like a Stalin-esque prison.
Yeah. But
you're so far out in the middle of nowhere that they don't really have you all locked up in bars or anything, because where are you going to go? If you leave, you're going to die, because you have to. So, and the popular sort of cryptid version and the more, Fortean sort of view on the whole thing is that there was a possibility that they were killed by Bigfoots.
And that the, I guess, Russian or Siberian armies were out there trying to capture Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And somehow the students came upon a situation.
Yeah. And then the other side of that is that the Russian soldiers killed the students because they were witness to something. And the idea also that Russian-style Bigfoots are not nice. Yeah. They're territorial. They're just like the ones in Australia. They're also not nice.
If you talk to our friend Igor,
yes,
I mean, he strongly believes that they are not nice creatures.
Yeah. And he talked about how they like to eat the fleshy parts, like the tongue and things like that. And so if you have an opportunity to look it up, go ahead and look it up. And one day we'll do a podcast episode where we talk about some of the horrific things that happen to these people, because it is kind of interesting. The whole thing is actually pretty sad.
Yeah.
But one of the most popular things to come out from the government in Russia is that they died in an avalanche.
Unknown natural force.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which everybody's like, okay, so you're saying avalanche, because it would make sense with the mountain pass and the snow and the way their tent was destroyed.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, too. When they finally went out to go investigate and find these people, they were spread out. They died weird and horrifically.
Their tents, rather than use the tent flaps or exit normally, the tents had been ripped open from the inside.
Cut open from the inside, and where they left, the protective gear was there, like gloves and boots and things like that. And so it was just like, what would scare these people so bad they just exited their tent like that without putting a coat on? And I understand they're Russians.
Yeah.
And they're used to the cold, because they're cold people. I've been to Russia, and it was cold.
Yeah.
They don't care. I mean, it was their springtime, and I was freezing. They don't care. But it's a terrible thing, and it is like, it's still a mystery. And there's been the ongoing thing. This has never been investigated properly, and the answer coming from the government, Soviet government, is substandard. It's just like, it's definitely a cover-up, because there's so many questions that weren't answered.
Or it was just considered not satisfactory.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with this latest news that came out this week, they're trying to say that an elegant computer model is bringing up surprising sources as to the actual cause of their deaths. Yeah.
So since none of the investigated evidence leads to a real understanding of what happened. So the more speculative reasons are not producing the answers. So now they make a computer model.
Yep. Through a series of avalanche simulations based in part on car crash experiments and animation used in the movie Frozen.
So, based off of car crash information, which would be like the impact, and trying to explain some of the damage that was done to these poor hikers.
Yeah.
And in computer animation. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you, I haven't looked at the article.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I'm hearing so far, it sounds like with this, modeling simulation, I can make all sorts of things happen.
Pretty much. I mean, you can make cartoon characters and you can make car crashes.
It's like, so I can manipulate the data to make it show, oh, hey, look.
Yeah.
In this particular simulation, it explains the natural phenomenon that occurred, the unknown natural phenomenon that killed him. And ripped the girl's tongue out.
Yeah. And they're trying to say a bizarrely small, delayed avalanche may have been responsible for the gruesome injuries and deaths. However, we just got done watching a show with Josh Gates out there.
Yeah, where he actually went.
Yeah. And one of the things that stuck out for the Russian expert or researcher that went with him, she stated this area isn't conducive for the amount of avalanche or the type of avalanche that would have caused these types of injuries.
Yeah, because in order to have a lot of avalanche, right?
Yeah.
You got to have a lot of snow, and you have to have a high enough elevation.
Yeah.
For the snow to be able to come down to go up the rise where their tent site was.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot. It's not like you're looking up to 7,000 feet of, snow. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know.
And avalanches can cause some very strange things, such as blunt force trauma, crushing, those types of injuries. But the state of these bodies that were found, I mean, chests had been smashed open, an eye was missing, but the other eye was okay. One person, their tongue was completely missing.
Yeah.
They are trying to say that the extent of the injuries was a combination of the avalanche plus scavengers. However, if this all happened in February, those types of scavengers, I'm having a hard time believing they would be out in the cold climate of this area.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense. And the fact that when they found some of the bodies, they didn't find them right away. There's a period of time between when the first group of hikers were found versus finding the remainder of them. So the whole thing doesn't make much sense. And I remember watching that show. They even went through to go and get like boring samples out of trees.
Yeah.
Have like this corkscrew looking thing, and it kind of goes into the tree to go through the rings and stuff to get all the way down to, around the time.
Yeah.
59, right? And they didn't have any instances of radiation or anything like that. Because they said it was possibly they were testing, probably testing like an intercontinental ballistic missile or a nuclear weapon because, hey, man.
Yeah.
It was the Cold War, right? So
they go on in this article to basically say something called katabatic winds, which cause heavy clumps of frigid air to drop snow at higher elevations down towards the campsite, and then a block of icy matter, maybe a mere 16 feet long, the size of an SUV, could have caused an avalanche. And like you were saying, with Josh Gates' team, they went to the trees and did the boring sample. The thing about their investigation, they went to 3 different spots, which were quite a trek for that whole TV show.
You would have to have the elevation required for a large chunk of ice or whatever to hit and spur off.
The amount of distance where all those bodies were found.
Yeah, there's not. Okay, so there wouldn't be enough snow.
Yeah.
To do that. And, avalanches, I don't know. I'm not an avalanche expert by any means because if it's cold, it's not for me. I just don't like it.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't make sense. This is, to me, this and the ongoing thing that people keep saying, about this incident, this mystery doesn't make sense when you compare it to the explanation that the government has, the Soviet government at the time put out. It's like saying, with Roswell, it was a weather balloon. And then later on, let's reinvestigate it, guys, because it's getting popular again. Right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, it really was weather balloon plus testing, these anatomical dummies. Right? Dropped from high altitude.
Yeah.
And that's really what you've seen. Which, okay,
And it's funny you mentioned that because they're actually trying to use very extreme explanations like that in this article about how the bodies ended up the way they did, because they're trying to say in the 70s, General Motors, GM, took 100 cadavers and broke their ribs. And basically they used that data and incorporated it into their research or their computer models for what happened at Dyatlov Pass.
Which is funny because typically broken bones in the chest region or ribs.
Yeah.
At the time, I think was primarily brought up by you smashing your steering wheel.
Yeah.
Or the dash. So are you telling me that snow can cause a crushing injury on the chest to break the bones? You know what else can do it? Bigfoot's foot. A rifle butt from a soldier.
Yeah.
So what are they really trying to cover up? Because see, I think if this sort of thing happened in America, and there may be an instance of this sort of thing. I think if you thought, from all the readings and stuff, if you were of the time and like, you know what? I think Sasquatch did it. I think the U.S. would be like, yep, we're not going to say anything at all. Sounds good. Roll with it. Because it continually sort of discredits the entire thing. It discredits any information that people would bring up to either prove or disprove the theory, right? So if your theory is that a cryptid, an angry territorial cryptid, did this, and you don't say anything, people will naturally say, or I shouldn't say people, but some people would say, well, the government's by their lack of providing any information to the contrary that must be the case and that they know about it, or that it was caused by the government and they're just keeping secrets. So in other words, they're just going to let you talk yourself out and to let all the opinions be out there so that at the end of the day, nobody knows anything.
But in this instance, they're over-explaining and using an awful lot of anecdotal experience.
Yeah, which tells me it's like, okay, so why are they trying to explain this to death if they weren't involved in it?
And they're even going so far as to taking like this expert, a professional mountain climber, Freddie Wilkinson, which I've heard of, who did an expedition to Antarctica in 2012. I mean, even roping them in to get an explanation about like chunks of snow causing crushing injuries and stuff.
Well, I mean, yeah,
but it's like you are going out of your way.
It's a stretch, man.
Yeah. And
I don't know.
And I'm a rational person. I'm like, okay, if you can give me like the data.
Yeah, and I can't even pronounce it. It's like Dyatlov, and I keep saying Dyatlov. It's hard to pronounce.
You know what? You're probably right.
Yeah, well, and I had a hard time when I was in Russia trying to pronounce stuff too, but the people in Russia that I met are pretty skeptical overall, so I think that any explanation that comes out from the government is not going to be seen with anything other than a just undying amount of skepticism.
And then at the very end of this article, they take a jab at people like those people you were talking about and us.
Yeah.
And they're like, people don't want it to be an avalanche, he says. It's too normal. That unyielding skepticism, along with the haunting nature of the incident, will keep conspiracy theories alive well into the future. And I'm like, people want to hold on to a group of young people going off into the wilderness, and they never came back because of strange and implausible scenarios. And I'm like, give me some better evidence.
Well, they don't care. They're trying to say, okay, so you crazies need to let this go, when that just made it even worse.
Yeah.
Because they don't trust the government. The people, average person, people don't trust the government. I mean, you had family members disappear, and you had Stalin and all of that stuff going down. So at the end of the day, I think that them working up an explanation to explain it and simulations to explain it still doesn't necessarily mean that's actually what happened. You can explain most anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, just because you come up with an explanation to explain the unusual, the paranormal, the supernatural side of things doesn't mean that's what actually occurred or what actually is. It'd be different if you could prove it. Like if you have orbs and you can prove they're moisture-laden dust flying around, whizzing around your house.
Yeah.
And you can prove that, well then guess what? They're not supernatural. They are moisture-laden dust, or they're vapor particles, or whatever. Or it's your atomizing freaking air freshener that is slightly becoming defective, and when it fires up and does the squirt thing, if you can explain it and that is what it is, that's great. But just because you can say it's that doesn't mean that's actually what it necessarily is, especially when you have so much evidence saying that something weird went down.
Yeah.
And it did. Something weird went down.
And whether it's paranormal or paranatural or whatever.
Yeah. And they even originally tried to blame it on the people, some like gypsy type people that actually lived out there.
Well, not gypsy, but nomadic type people who lived
I mean,
out there.
I don't mean gypsy in a bad way. It's like they were pretty much,
the Mansi people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they live out there and they're nice and friendly according to what we've seen on television. But at the time, they were basically painted as being, vagabond, sort of, basically distasteful.
Which is funny because they're some of the first people that went out to go look for them.
Yeah.
And they were the ones, interesting enough, that told later investigators and later researchers, yeah, we saw the Russian army out here.
Yep.
So there you go.
Don't know.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird thing.
So.
All right. So anyway, we're going to take a second and take a quick break.
Yeah.
And you're listening to the CreepGeeks Podcast, and we'll be right back. I'm trying to figure out which button I'm supposed to hit. This one.
Audible is audio entertainment that entertains, educates, and inspires. For you, the listeners of the CreepGeeks Podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a 30-day free trial to give you the opportunity to check out their service. To download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/CheapGeek. Again, that's audibletrial.com/CheapGeek for your free audiobook. Enjoy this with your free trial. 30 days of membership free, plus 2 free audiobooks that are yours forever. 1 credit a month after trial, good for any book regardless of price. Exclusive member savings. Get 30% off additional audiobooks. Easy exchanges. Don't love a book? Swap it for free. Anytime, seriously. Again, that's audibletrial.com/CheapGeek for your free audiobook today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, that's pretty jazzy beat. All right, so with our podcast, we do a couple different things to try to promote the podcast, and that's one of them. And I was just thinking that if this is your very first time tuning into the podcast and you've been listening for a while, you hear us say Cheap Geek instead of Creep Geeks, and let me give you an explanation behind that. Once upon a time, our podcast was called Cheap Geek Podcast. And what we found is we talked more about the weird stuff from our own experiences and things. And so in a brilliant decision, we renamed it Creep Geeks. Right?
Yeah.
And then we went to go update all the information and change it, only to find out it's really hard to change, and this was at the time, the feed, name, and information that goes along with it. And that effectively, you would take all your hard work and have to just throw it away and start over again. Because you can't just rename the RSS feed. It's really kind of hard.
Or your specialized links.
Yeah, and all of that stuff. So it's like, man, so in order to submit it back to, Google and anywhere that plays podcasts, Apple and all that stuff, you're effectively just sending out, you're just creating a new one.
Yeah.
And since we had tens of listeners.
And we didn't want to lose them.
We just kind of rolled with it.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is us, so it is a thing. And speaking of a thing, we were just kind of talking about this a little while ago. Your birthday is coming up, and your birthday is in February.
Okay.
Right? That's how you spell it. February.
Yes.
Or February. Anyway, because February is one of those words that you always miss on the spelling test. And one of the things that we know, well, that's because you have a special affinity towards that, because you're like, this is the month I was birthed.
Okay.
Right?
Or I'm just a decent speller.
Maybe. I'll give you that.
Okay.
But, let me throw some pennies on the table, add them up real quick, right? Yeah. So anyway, what we notice is that your birthday is in February. It's the first week of February. It's the 7th, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And every time we try to do stuff for your birthday, things don't necessarily work out. Case in point, we were going to be going to the museum in Kentucky, right?
Yes.
What's it called? The International
Paranormal Museum in Somerset, Kentucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in preparation to get ready for our camper van adventure,
You broke your neck.
broke my neck bones.
Yeah.
Not good.
Mm-hmm.
one year we actually went camping in New Mexico out in the desert, right?
Yeah.
And where we were going to go was not the place to be because it wasn't good. So we went somewhere else. I think it's Curada. And we found this nice little, plateau mountaintop thing. We're like, oh, this is great. Got 4G. And so we camped there. It was cold.
Yeah.
But we were all right. We had a heater going and all that stuff. Had a good time. We were only there for the night because it was cold. But anyway, the next day I'm outside the van packing some stuff up, and you were getting ready, and the park ranger guy came by. And he was like, oh, sweet. Glad you guys are alive. I'm like, huh. And he just kind of drove off after he gave us a little jaunty wave because he didn't want to stop and talk to us. And come to find out that the place where we were, people kind of go up there and die.
Yeah.
Like more than once. And so evidently seeing the van there, because I'd seen him go by before, and then coming by the next day and seeing actual people outside the van made the park ranger kind of happy because he probably has had instances where people that are out there parked in the car in the middle of nowhere on top of a flat plateau, kind of a mountain area in the wintertime, that chances are either it's stolen or bad things have occurred to the car or there's somebody in it.
Yeah.
And so I guess he's probably glad he didn't have to deal with that or go up there and find possibly a dead potato in the car. Right. So, and then what else has happened? Let me think. It's just one year we were going to go somewhere for your adventure and the van mysteriously just broke down.
Yep.
Had to replace like the water pump and the radiator and all that stuff. And the day before it was fine. So it seems like.
Oh, and then we got trapped that one time.
Oh, where we got stuck for a day and a half, 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because that's why we went. Okay, anyway, so every time we try to attempt to do anything, things seem to happen. And come to find out that there may be some reasons behind that. And not just because, it's your birthday, but because just in general, it's freaking February and weird stuff seems to happen in February.
Oh.
And so I found a link on the internets to kind of give us an idea of, the possibilities of what may be out there. Because with the internet, you can search anything. And I come across this that said the weird reason why there are only 28 days in February.
Okay.
And the article kind of goes like this. For a month dedicated to flowers, candy, and chocolate, February gets no love. The woes of the year's shortest month have been well documented. Bad weather, disruptive leap days every 4 years, and unfortunate proliferation of Hallmark cards have become synonymous with the second month of the year. So why did February deserve this fate? And it says, according to the history books, the Gregorian calendar, my name is Greg, by the way, right? Which we use today, traces its roots back to around 2,800 years ago in Rome, and originally it was organized by the lunar year, by the Roman king Numa Pompilius. Mm-hmm. And during his reign, numerical superstition was the in vogue thing.
Yeah. And
the populace considered even numbers to be bad luck. Which is kind of dumb, but all right. Right? Yeah. And basically, even the writer says, that sounds stupid now, but we freak out every time there's a Friday the 13th.
So let's cut them some slack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to avoid any of the miasma associated with half of all the numbers being bad, Pompilius wanted to make sure that none of the months contained an even number of days. Unfortunately, the celestial bodies conspired against the Roman ruler, and the lunar calendar was made up of 355 days, so at least one of the 12 months required an even number of days to fill out the year. So he did the logical thing, since February was already a bit of a bummer because it was dedicated to the Roman rituals for honoring the dead. Rather than spread the misfortune around, he decided to heap all of the bad luck on February and create one spectacularly sad month.
Fantastic.
Yes. So some 700 years later, Caesar came along and decided to switch the lunar calendar to a solar schedule, adding 10 days to the year and forming the first iteration of the modern calendar. The lunar calendar has fewer days because it's based on the monthly cycles of the moon, which are typically around 29 days, and a 12th calendar month based on the moon adds up to be 355. So the solar calendar, on the other hand, is based on the Earth's orbit around the sun, which we all know takes 365 days.
Oh.
So apparently Caesar didn't want to completely break from tradition, so February remained the shortest month of the year, and Caesar's calendar was later updated by Pope Gregory the X111, which I think is 13, who reduced the average calendar by basically reduced the calendar year by 10 minutes and 48 seconds.
Okay.
And that basically corrected a minor but accumulating drift of the calendar away from the equinoxes and solstices, hence the Gregorian moniker. So a short, sad story for a short, sad month.
Thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. And that came from inverse.com. And we have a link to that if you want to kind of read it. It has a little picture in there.
My birthday
Is a short, sad story for a short, sad month. So, there you go.
You want to end the podcast like that?
Hey, titanium neck bones. Yeah. I'm not. I mean, think about it. Every time in February, I try to do my due diligence and make something happen, and it doesn't. I do try. Last time I tried so hard, I broke my neck.
Would you stop?
Broke my neck for love.
And you know what? Don't. Because now that you've broken your neck on my birthday,
I would sing like Meatloaf's.
It's almost like I'm almost in the same category as people who have their birthday on Christmas, where it's like, yes, it's your birthday, but something more important happened on this day. That's not fair.
Yeah, but still typically good stuff happens. At least you get like presents and maybe a wonderful Christmas. What's that garbage cake that everybody likes?
Fruitcake.
Yeah.
Ugh,
There's people out there like, I love fruitcake.
it's not
It's
fair.
like, and you're a wacko that sees a freaking potato in a field and calls it a freaking foot. Anyway, it just seems like that's, and you're supposed to be honoring the dead, but evidently maybe the honoring of the dead, it became aggravated by this whole calendar mess. And it's like, okay, we're just going to make this a short, sad month.
Yeah.
There we go.
When does Mardi Gras happen? Is
I don't
that
know.
in February? I don't think it is.
I don't think so.
Yeah. But
I'm not an expert in such.
yeah.
No.
Oh, February 25th.
See?
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. And I think you were telling me that Mardi Gras is going to be done virtually.
Oh, well, it's going to be socially distanced, so there will be no like bar crawls and stuff like that.
No
Instead,
flinging of the beads.
yeah. Well, we don't know because there was an article about some guy trying to rig a T-shirt gun to blow beads out at people at like intermittent times. But
Yeah, because I think the idea of using compressed air to blow out hardened plastic beads.
like an air rifle,
Yeah.
basically.
It's like a blunderbuss.
Yeah.
Just blowing beads at people. Somebody's going to lose an eye for sure.
But what people are doing now is they're decorating their houses. So you can take like a drive through like the historic areas of Louisiana and stuff like that, New Orleans, and see the beautiful houses.
So this is like the beautiful practice of driving through somebody's neighborhood when it's their birthday and you have like a whole string of cars going, happy birthday.
Yeah. Like
looking at Christmas lights,
yeah.
getting shot in the face with hard plastic beads.
But I was trying to
Happy
think
birthday.
of like, because that's the Christian feast of Epiphany and Ash Wednesday and stuff like that. So February being a celebration of the dead, I'm trying to think what other cultures celebrate. We should have done a podcast about that. What other cultures celebrate the dead in
Well,
February?
don't tell everybody.
I know, right? But I don't want my month to be a bad month.
Evidently, it's not up to you.
Well, that's not fair.
Because think about it. There's been some other bad things, like you even found some of this stuff out, like other strange disappearances around Omi's birthday.
Yeah.
Well, guess what happened on February 8th?
What?
Dyatlov Pass incident.
Yeah.
That we just talked about.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have links in here, disappearances of Paul and Sarah Skiba
Yep.
and Lorenzo Cheevers. They disappeared around here, right?
Yeah. Well, no, actually, that happened in Colorado. And it was a
Colorado.
really weird situation because it happened in Westminster, Colorado. And it was this couple that owned this moving business as well as somebody that worked for them. And it was kind of like a good, like a family type company. Everybody was close knit. The company was like a tough movers moving company. Everybody was real tight. And then I guess
That's kind of a rarity these days, or at least it was for us, you know. Well,
now this case got national attention. It appeared on the Montel Williams show, America's Most Wanted, Nancy Grace. It was like weird because all three of them disappeared on the same day. One of them, I guess their wife went looking at the business, and she wasn't allowed to go check things out. It was weird because three of them disappeared without a trace. She tried to figure out what was going on. When she finally got onto the property, she noticed that the moving vans were parked weird. So she kind of broke in. Her and somebody else broke in.
So this was at the property where they were going to be delivering stuff or picking stuff up to be moved, or do they don't specify?
Well, it was like they went out to go do a moving job and then never came back.
Oh.
Yeah. And then like the moving vans were all, suspect. In fact, one of them was found with bullet holes in it. So
that's probably a pretty good indication that.
Yeah, So I thought that was.
Yeah, because, it's the bullet holes in the side. There was blood evidence and, as a portion of human scalp near its windshield.
Yeah.
And a metal extension ramp for the truck was also missing from the lot.
Yeah.
Ooh, I wonder if this is a mystery, like a robbery gone bad or something.
Yeah, but it's definitely one of those murder mystery type things. And this happened February 7th, 1999.
That's the year you were born.
No, it is not. You know it's not. Okay?
There was another instance, too. You got Franklin's Lost Expedition.
Which is a well-known thing. This was a British voyage of Arctic exploration led by Captain Sir John Franklin, and it departed from England in 1845. Now, they did not depart on February 7th. However, February 7th is the date that basically everything got signed. Everybody got, okay, you're going to be in charge of this. You're going to be in charge of that.
Okay, so that's when it became official.
Yeah, pretty much. So, and that's when Franklin received command of his ship.
Well, once you get a change of command happening and you sign on a dotted line, you become the captain. It's yours.
Yep. So pretty much the entire endeavor became his and somebody named Crozier. And they led the Erebus and the Terror, which are just very creepy names for an expedition. Pretty sure Erebus is like a Roman dog, I think. I don't remember.
Anyway.
But yeah, so that was creepy, and it's one of the more well-known disappearances, unexplained things, because they went to go explore the Canadian Arctic. Evidence shows that while the disappearance is unsolved, there may have been some cannibalism, stuff like that.
Some hypothermia, starvation, lead poisoning.
Yeah.
Scurvy.
Oh, Erebus was the primal deity in Greek mythology, born of the primeval void chaos. He's a personification of deep darkness and shadows.
Say that again real fast.
I
3 times.
can't, because I'm like, right now.
So basically, Chaos and Terror were sent out on an expedition with these guys, and so they became the Lost Expedition. They searched for these dudes for decades.
Yeah. In fact, they even tried to do future explorations in like 2006 and stuff, Yeah. So, yeah. So that's something that happened pretty much on my birthday.
And then evidently there's like 3 well-known cases of missing persons on your birthday as well.
And that's just in North Carolina. I believe there's at least 1 or 2 in New Hampshire or Massachusetts, 1 in Virginia, 2 in Argentina or Brazil.
Okay, so let's just pretty much just say that February is a month.
And those are like...
You got to be on your toes.
And I'm talking between
Didn't we go into like lockdown in February, or was that in March?
It was in March. Well, North Carolina went into lockdown. However, other states went as early as, I think, February. So, but when I talk about all those missing persons cases, I'm talking literally the week I was born. I mean, like February 6th through 9th has some crazy stuff attached to it. So, yeah.
Well, that just means we have to be super extra cautious.
So, which kind of stinks because I've got a pretty big milestone birthday coming up, and I'd really like to celebrate it.
Well, I only have so many neck bones to give.
Stop.
I don't know. We'll have to figure it out. Well, I mean, we'll figure out something.
Okay.
You know, so it's, I mean, hey, let's just be careful.
Okay.
Figure it out. Might be good.
Maybe we can go get like chicken wings or something.
No.
Something like calm.
Let's go to Chuck E. Cheese. Come on down to, was it Mechanical Rat Pizza and Child Emporium or whatever that terrible meme
Mechanized Rat and Child Casino.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, which kind of makes sense if you think about it. It's like a children's gambling casino.
Mechanized Rat Parade and Child Casino. That's
Nice.
what it was, yeah. So,
I don't know. We'll figure it out. So anyway, if you're listening to the podcast, we do appreciate it. And if you want to wish Omi a happy birthday, you can certainly do that. Go to our Facebook page of destruction. Right?
CreepGeeks Podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can also give us a call. That'll be 575-208-4025.
Yeah.
Do want to thank everybody for listening in. Please join us on Facebook or social media. We are trying to get our Facebook group to grow. That's going to be real easy to get to. It's CreepGeeks Facebook group. Like our page, like and follow our page to get updates as to when we do big announcements, release new episodes, stuff like that. Oh yeah, and thank you to our Patreon supporters. Supporters like Dave, Isis, James, Bobby, John, and Adam helped create or support this episode.
Yeah.
Yes, if you want to support the podcast, you can do so by visiting patreon.com/creepgeeks.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say.
Well, you can check out our super cool Instagram.
Oh yeah,
We have some stuff there. And we have a TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah.
Yes,
You just look for Creep Geeks.
and you'll find us.
Yep. Anyway, there you go. So join us for next time when we talk about other interesting stuff.
All right.
Yeah. It's all good. So that's all I got.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, do appreciate you listening. So come on back next time. We do it every week. And so there you go. So see you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.